Today on How They Do It.
Orbital sanders. This is an orbital sander. It is used to remove material to achieve a flatter surface, finer surface finishes, and to remove burrs. This is the working side of the sander, where you put the different grit sandpaper to obtain different finishes. This is the beginning of the disassembly, which brings us to our first manufacturing process, injection molding. You can see from the exploded diagram which components were injection molded. We can tell that they were injection molded because of the injector pin spots as well as the parting lines on the different pieces. Additionally, you are able to see the draft angles which allowed them to be popped from the mold easier. Another manufacturing process that could have been used is thermoforming. However, thermoforming is more expensive on a large-scale basis than injection molding. Additionally, the casing has variable cross-section areas which could not be achieved using thermoforming. Many of the components that make up the outer casing use a special process called two-shot injection molding. This process works by having a primary runner inject the first part of the piece, just as regular injection molding, but then a baffle is removed and additional plastic is injected to fill the new cavity using a secondary injector with a different material or color. Our next manufacturing process is casting. Two parts in the disassembly were identified as being cast because of their draft angles and parting lines. We believe that it was die cast and not sand casted or investment casted because ejector pin features were observed, and sand casting is not able to achieve thin features of the impeller or the tight radii. The relatively fine surface finish also points to die casting rather than sand casting. Finally, die casting is cheaper than sand casting at this production volume. The next process we will discuss is sheet metal stamping. We identified two parts as being stamped. We assume it was stamped as opposed to other forming methods because of the planar geometry. The electric motor body also consists of many metal pieces that appear to be stamped, as can be seen. These are typically glued together with either the glue or some other sort of insulation material between layers. Alternatively, these components could have been laser cut or water jet, but stamping is faster and has a lower high production cost, as well as lower labor costs. Finally, the PCB used at the top of the assembly limits the speed of the motor based upon the input wheel and does not appear to be wave soldered because of the many surface mount components on both sides. Therefore, we think reflow soldering, with possibly some hand soldering, were likely used on this board. Thanks for watching this week's episode of How They Do It.